when the man lost her mind. Becky Lynch's championship meltdown against Maxine Dupri. What happens when the most decorated female superstar in WWE history completely loses her cool and throws away a championship defense because she cannot control her temper? You get one of the most shocking moments on Monday Night Raw where Becky Lynch, the woman who built an empire on being unshakable, absolutely snapped and handed Maxine Dupri a victory on a silver platter. If you think champions are supposed to be calm, collected, and in control at all times, then what went down between the man and Maxine just shattered that illusion into a million pieces. This is not your typical title match finish. This is a psychological breakdown caught on live television. Before we break down this absolute chaos, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because here at WWE Extreme, we are diving deep into every controversial finish, every shocking moment, and every time a superstar loses their mind on live television. And trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Let us set the stage properly, because understanding how we got here makes this entire situation even more unbelievable. Becky Lynch is not just any champion. She is the champion, the trailblazer who changed women's wrestling forever. The woman who main event WrestleMania and won both major women's championships simultaneously. The performer who took the moniker The Man and made it synonymous with excellence, dominance, and unshakable confidence. When Becky Lynch won the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, it felt inevitable. It felt right. Because if anyone deserves to add another prestigious title to their collection, it is the woman who paved the way for this entire generation of female superstars to have these opportunities in the first place. Now enter Maxine Dupri into this equation, and suddenly things get really interesting. Maxine is not your typical championship challenger. This is someone who started in WWE as a manager, someone who had to prove to everyone, including probably herself, that she belonged in that ring competing at the highest level. The doubters were loud and plentiful. Can a former manager really hang with the elite? Does she have what it takes to compete for championships? Is this just a feel-good story that ends in disaster when she faces real competition? Maxine has spent every single day since stepping between those ropes answering those questions with her performances, her improvement, and her absolute refusal to back down from anyone regardless of their reputation or accomplishments. The history between Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupri adds so many layers to this rivalry that you need a roadmap to keep track of all the tension. These two have faced off before, and here is the kicker that probably still keeps Becky up at night. Maxine has actually beaten the man. Now, before you jump out of your seat, let me clarify. It was a count-out victory. Not exactly the most prestigious way to defeat someone. Not a clean pin in the center of the ring. Not a submission where your opponent taps out and admits defeat. But in the world of professional wrestling, a win is a win. And that count-out is recorded in the history books as Maxine Dupri defeating Becky Lynch. And for someone with Becky's pride, with her legacy, with her need to prove she is the absolute best, that count-out loss is like a splinter that keeps digging deeper into her competitive psyche. So we arrive at Monday Night Raw with Becky Lynch defending her WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship against the challenger who already has a psychological edge. Maxine walks into this match knowing she has gotten under Becky's skin. She knows that count-out victory, however it happened, has been eating away at the man's confidence. And confidence, or the lack thereof, can be the difference between a dominant champion and a vulnerable one. The mental game in professional wrestling is just as important as the physical game. And heading into this title match, Maxine Dupri is winning the mental warfare without even trying. The match itself starts exactly how you would expect. Becky Lynch, determined to prove that count-out was a fluke, comes out aggressive and focused. She is wrestling like someone who has something to prove, which, let us be honest, she absolutely does. Maxine, meanwhile, is not intimidated in the slightest. She is matching Becky move for move, counter for counter, showing that her time in WWE has genuinely elevated her skill level to the point where she can compete with the best. This is not a veteran toying with an inexperienced challenger. This is a legitimate competitive match where both women are giving everything they have to either retain or capture championship gold. And then something shifts. Maybe it is a specific move. Maybe it is a taunt from Maxine. Maybe it is just the accumulation of frustration boiling over. But Becky Lynch, the woman known for her composure in big moments, the competitor who has thrived under the brightest lights and highest pressure, completely loses her composure. We are talking full mental breakdown. The calculated veteran disappears, and in her place is someone overcome with rage and frustration. And in professional wrestling, when you let your emotions override your strategy, when you abandon the game plan in favor of pure aggression, that is when mistakes happen. That is when you do something that costs you everything. Becky Lynch crosses the line. Whatever rule she breaks, whatever illegal tactic she employs, whatever line she steps over in her moment of uncontrolled fury, it results in the referee calling for the bell. Disqualification. The match is over. Maxine Dupri wins by disqualification. And just like that, one of the most shocking finishes on Monday Night Raw in recent memory is written into the history books. Becky Lynch, the WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, literally gave away a victory to her challenger because she could not keep her emotions in check. Let that marinate for a second. The veteran, the multiple-time world champion, the woman who has main evented the biggest shows in wrestling history, disqualified because she snapped. Now here is where the champion's advantage comes into play, and it is both a blessing and a curse for Becky Lynch. In WWE, titles do not change hands on a disqualification unless specifically stipulated in the match stipulations beforehand. So even though Maxine Dupri won the match, even though she defeated the champion, the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship stays around Becky Lynch's waist. Becky retains her title not because she was the better competitor, not because she pinned Maxine or made her submit, but because of a technicality. Because the rules say that championships do not change hands on disqualifications. And for a competitor with Becky's pride, that might actually be Becky's perspective losing the title for just a moment. She retains her championship, sure, but at what cost? Her reputation as someone who always rises to the occasion is damaged. Her image as the man who never loses her cool is shattered. Every time someone looks up this title defense in the future, they will see that Becky Lynch got disqualified. They will see that she lost control. They will see that when pushed to her limit by Maxine Dupri, she could not maintain the composure expected of a champion. That is the kind of stain on a legacy that does not wash out easily, no matter how many successful defenses come after it. But let us talk about Maxine Dupri, because her side of this story is equally fascinating. She walks out of this match with another victory over Becky Lynch. Sure, it is by disqualification, not the clean definitive one she probably wanted, but it is still a victory. More importantly, it is another piece of evidence that she belongs at this level. She pushed the champion so far that Becky Lynch abandoned everything that made her great just to try and stop her. That is not a sign of weakness on Maxine's part. That is a sign that she got so deep into Becky's head, so far under her skin, that the man literally lost her mind. From a psychological standpoint, Maxine Dupri is absolutely dominating this rivalry. The frustrating part for Maxine, and you can see in her post-match reactions, is that she now has 2 victories over Becky Lynch, but neither of them are the definitive wins that truly establish you as a top-tier competitor. A count out and a disqualification. Those are wins that always come with asterisks, with explanations, with that little voice saying, yeah, but she did not really beat her, you know. For someone trying to prove they belong in the championship conversation, those kinds of victories are simultaneously validating and frustrating. They show you can hang with the best, but they do not definitively prove you are better than the best. What makes this situation so compelling going forward is the inevitable rematch that has to happen. You cannot leave this story here. You cannot have a champion who got disqualified defending against a challenger who has now beaten her twice, but never cleanly. The WWE Universe demands a conclusion. They need to see these 2 face off one more time under stipulations that guarantee a definitive winner. Maybe it is a no disqualification match where Becky cannot lose her cool and get herself disqualified. Maybe it is an Iron Man match where count-outs and disqualifications do not matter. Maybe it is a submission match where someone has to tap out. Whatever the stipulation, the next chapter of this rivalry has to provide the conclusive answer to who is truly better. From a storytelling perspective, what WWE has done here is absolutely masterful. They have taken a rising star in Maxine Dupri and given her legitimate credibility by having her rack up victories over an established legend. But they have done it in ways that protect Becky Lynch's standing as well. Becky did not get pinned. She did not tap out. She lost control, which is a character flaw that can be addressed and overcome in future storylines. Meanwhile, Maxine looks strong without looking unbeatable. She has proven she can compete at this level without making Becky look weak in defeat. That is the balance that great wrestling storytelling achieves, elevating new stars while maintaining the credibility of established ones. The crowd reactions to this finish tell you everything you need to know about how effective this angle has been. The shock when the disqualification was called. The mixed reactions of people who wanted to see Maxine win the title, but also did not want it to happen this way. The frustration from Becky Lynch fans who cannot believe their hero lost her composure. All of these reactions mean the audience is invested. They care about what happens next. They have opinions on who should win and how it should happen. That emotional investment is what separates good wrestling from great wrestling. When the fans are arguing about what should happen next, you have succeeded in creating compelling television. Let us talk about what this means for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship as a whole. This title is still relatively new in WWE's current landscape, and matches like this one are defining what it means to hold this championship. The story being told is that this title brings out the absolute best and sometimes the absolute worst in competitors. It pushes people to their limits. It reveals character flaws. It creates intense rivalries that transcend just winning and losing. That is how you build prestige around a championship. Not just by having great matches, but by having matches that create unforgettable moments and lasting storylines. Becky Lynch's reign as Women's Intercontinental Champion will now forever include this moment of weakness. Every highlight package, every retrospective look at her time with this title will include the disqualification against Maxine Dupri. And honestly, that is not a bad thing. The best championship reigns are not the ones where everything goes perfectly. They are the ones with adversity, with challenges, with moments where the champion had to overcome their own demons to remain on top. If Becky can recover from this, if she can defeat Maxine definitively in a rematch, this moment of losing control actually adds depth to her reign rather than diminishing it. For Maxine Dupri, this is the launching pad moment that every rising star needs.